Hi, everybody. Welcome back to First Chapter Friday. This month we are going to be reading Mr. Popper's Penguins by Richard and Florence Atwater. And I picked this book for a couple reasons. First of all, it won a Newbery Honor Award. It was also on the New York Times best-selling list. But in all honesty, the reason that I picked it most of all was a few years ago, I was watching a movie called, guess what? Mr. Popper's Penguins with Jim Carrey. And I thought the movie was absolutely adorable. I thought it was well written, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Did not know at the time that it was a book. So as soon as I found that out, I decided to read this. And they are a little different in their own right, but at the same time, it's the idea of the story is the same. And I found it thoroughly enjoyable. So figured we'd give it a shot. If you want to try it, you could try to read this. You can also try to movie it and compare them yourself. Okay, so why don't we get started? Okay, Mr. Popper's Penguins, Chapter 1, Stillwater. It was an afternoon in late September. In the pleasant little city of Stillwater, Mr. Popper, the house painter, was going home from work. He was carrying his buckets, his ladders, his boards, so that he had a rather hard time moving along. He was spattered here and there with paint and calcimine, and there were little bits of wallpaper clinging to his hair and to his whiskers, for he was a rather untidy man. The children, looking up from their play to smile at him as he passed, and the housewives, seeing him, said, "Oh, dear, there goes Mr. Popper. I must remember to ask John to have the house painted over in the spring." No one knew what went on inside Mr. Popper's head, and no one guessed that he would one day be the most famous person in Stillwater. He was a dreamer. Even when he was busiest smoothing down the paste on the wallpaper or painting the outside of other people's houses, he would forget what he was doing. Once he had painted 3 sides of a kitchen green and the other side yellow. The housewife, instead of being angry and making him do it over, had liked it so well that she made him leave it that way. And all the other housewives, when they saw it, admired it too. So soon, everyone in Stillwater had 2-color kitchens. The reason Mr. Popper was so absent-minded was that he was always dreaming about faraway countries. He had never been out of Stillwater. Not that he was unhappy, though. He had a nice little house of his own, a wife whom he loved dearly, and 2 children named Janie and Bill. Still, it would have been nice, he thought, if he could have seen something of the world before he met Mrs. Popper and settled down. He had never hunted tigers in India, or climbed the peaks of the Himalayas, or dived for pearls in the South Seas. Above all, he had never seen the poles. That was what he regretted most of all. He had never seen those great, shining, white expanses of ice and snow. Oh, how he wished that he had been some type of scientist instead of a house painter in Stillwater, so that he might have joined on some great polar expeditions. Since he could not go, he was always thinking about them. Whenever he heard that a polar movie was in town, he was the first person at the ticket window, and he often sat through 3 shows. Whenever the town library had a new book about the Arctic or the Antarctic, the North Pole or the South Pole, Mr. Popper was the first to borrow it. Indeed, he had read so much about polar expeditions and polar explorers that he could name all of them and tell you what each one had done. He was quite an authority on the subject. His evenings were the best time of all. Then he could sit down in his little house and read about those cold regions at the top and the bottom of the earth. As he read, he could take the little globe that Janie and Bill had given him for Christmas before and search out the exact spot he was reading about. So now, as he made his way through the streets, he was happy because the day was over and because it was the end of September. When he came to the gate at the neat little bungalow at 432 Proudfoot Avenue, he turned in. "Well, my love," he said, setting down his buckets and ladders and boards and kissing Mrs. Popper, "the decorating season is over. I have painted all the kitchens in Stillwater. I have papered all the rooms in the new apartment building on Elm Street. There is no more work until spring, when people will want their houses painted." Mrs. Popper sighed. "I sometimes wish you had the kind of work that lasted all year, instead of just from spring to fall," she said. "It would be very nice to have you at home for a vacation, of course, but it is a little hard to sweep up with a man sitting around reading all day." "I could decorate the house for you." "No, indeed," said Mrs. Popper firmly. "Last year, you painted the bathroom 4 different times because you had nothing else to do. And I think that's enough of that. But what worries me is the money. I've saved a little, and I dare say we can get along, as we have on other winters. But no more roast beef, no more ice cream, not even on Sundays." "Shall we have beans every day?" asked Janie and Bill, coming in from play. "I'm afraid so," said Mrs. Popper. "Anyway, go wash your hands for supper. And Papa, put away the litter of paints, because you won't be needing them for quite a while." And that was the end of Chapter 1 of Mr. Popper's Penguins. Mr. Popper's Penguins is available right now through the catalog as an ebook, as an e-audiobook, and then as the print version right here. So if you like what you heard and you want to give it a shot, feel free to go to the catalog, put it on hold, or go ahead and get the ebook or the e-audiobook. Okay, thanks for reading with me today, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.